He weighs 136 kilograms. He stands over 2 meters tall. And right now, he is sitting at the kitchen table, politely waiting for someone to pass him the honey. Neighbors who peer through the window of this modest Russian home don't call the police anymore. They've learned. Because what looks like the most dangerous situation imaginable is, in this house, just another Tuesday morning. A massive brown bear, with paws the size of dinner plates and teeth that could splinter oak, sits quietly in a wooden chair, his dark eyes watching the kettle with patient anticipation. His name is Stepan, and the story of how he came to share a home, a sofa, and a cup of tea with a Russian couple named Yuri and Svetlana is one of the most extraordinary tales of love, trust, and second chances that the animal world has ever quietly produced. But to understand what Stepan became, you first have to understand what he almost didn't survive being. Deep in the forests of Russia, more than 2 decades ago, a hunter's bullet changed everything. It didn't change it for Stepan. He was too young to understand what had happened. Only 3 months old, barely larger than a loaf of bread, the bear cub sat alone in the crushing silence of the woods. His mother was gone. The forest, which should have been his entire world for the next several years, had become a place of impossible danger. Without his mother's warmth, without her milk, without her fierce protective presence, a 3-month-old bear cub in the Russian wilderness had almost no chance. Predators don't wait, and hunger, for something so small and so alone, arrives with terrifying speed. It was Yuri who found him, a man walking through the forest. Not a hunter, not a scientist, just a man who looked down at the right moment and saw something small and trembling that the world had already written off. The cub was weak, he was frightened, and he was completely, devastatingly alone. Yuri picked him up. That single decision, impulsive, compassionate, and almost certainly irrational, would reshape the next 23 years of his life. Back home, Yuri and Svetlana faced the immediate and overwhelming reality of what they had brought through their front door. Bear cubs, even small ones, are not like puppies. They don't come with instruction manuals. They bite when they're scared, they scratch when they're startled, and they have no concept whatsoever of where they are or why these strange-smelling humans keep trying to feed them warm milk from a bottle. The early weeks were chaos. The couple had no training, no experience, and no real idea whether this little creature was going to survive. They fed him around the clock. They kept him warm. They spoke to him constantly, letting him grow familiar with the sound of human voices not as a threat, but as comfort. When he cried, which was often, one of them would be there. And slowly, impossibly, it began to work. The cub stopped trembling when Yuri walked into the room. He began to recognize Svetlana's voice before she even appeared. He slept more soundly, ate more eagerly, and somewhere in those early weeks, something shifted in him. A recalibration of instinct, a rewiring of what felt like home. They named him Stepan, and from that moment, he was family. What followed was not a simple story of a cute bear cub growing up with a loving couple. It was something far more complex, far more demanding, and ultimately, far more beautiful. As Stepan grew, so did the weight of the commitment Yuri and Svetlana had made. Bears do not stay small. They do not stay manageable in the way a cat or dog remains manageable. Every month, Stepan added size, strength, and appetite in proportions that would have sent most people running. And yet the couple did not flinch. They enrolled in animal training courses, earning official permission from Russian authorities to keep him legally. They restructured their entire lives around his needs. His daily meals alone, 55 kilograms of fish, vegetables, and eggs every single day, cost more than most families spend feeding themselves in a month. The logistics were staggering. The physical demands were relentless. But here's what nobody tells you about raising a bear with unconditional love. It works. Not perfectly, not without fear in the beginning, not without moments of uncertainty, but it works in the deepest possible way, in the way that matters most. It builds trust. Stepan, who had never been taught to hunt, who had never spent a single day in the company of other bears, who had known nothing of the wild world since he was 3 months old, grew into something that defied every expectation people carry about what a bear is supposed to be. He learned to sit at the table, not beside the table at it, in a chair, with the posture of someone who knows that meals are shared events, not solitary ones. He learned that the kettle means tea is coming, and that tea time is a moment to settle, to be calm, to wait with patience. He watched television with Yuri and Svetlana in the evenings, pressed between them on the sofa with a contentment so profound it was almost architectural. He didn't just tolerate their closeness, he sought it. He helped water the garden. He played with balls in the yard like an oversized, fur-covered child who never quite grasped that he was supposed to have grown out of it. He read books, or at least, he sat with them, turning pages with a delicacy that his enormous paws had no right to possess. And he never, in 23 years, once bit either of them. Svetlana will tell you, with complete seriousness and not a trace of performance, that Stepan is the gentlest soul she has ever known. Not the gentlest bear, the gentlest soul. People who hear this laugh nervously. They imagine the claws. They imagine the jaw strength. They run calculations in their heads about what a 136 kilogram predator could do to a human body in a fraction of a second, and they assume that Yuri and Svetlana are either very brave or very foolish. They are neither. They are simply people who paid close enough attention to know what they were actually dealing with. Because here is the truth that Stepan spent 23 years quietly demonstrating. Aggression is not the nature of bears. It is the response of bears to fear, to threat, to the loss of safety. Take those triggers away, replace them with consistency and warmth and the absolute certainty of being loved, and what remains is something that looks a great deal less like a predator and a great deal more like a companion. Stepan was never given a reason to be afraid, and so he never became frightening. A bear in the wild lives, on average, about 15 years if it's lucky, if the hunters miss, if the winters aren't too brutal. Stepan, surrounded by love and warmth and condensed milk straight from the can, surpassed that age and kept going, a living argument against everything we assume about what animals need to thrive. He doesn't need the forest. He needs what he has always had, the sound of Svetlana's voice in the morning, the warmth of the sofa in the evening, the quiet ritual of meals shared at a table with the people who chose him when the world had already let him go. There is a photograph of Stepan sitting in the garden with Yuri, both of them facing the same direction, both of them completely still. They look like two old friends who have said everything worth saying and are content now simply to exist in the same space, which, after 23 years, is exactly what they are. Stepan's story doesn't ask you to go find a bear and bring it home. It doesn't ask you to rethink wildlife conservation policy or challenge every nature documentary you've ever watched. It asks something quieter and considerably harder than any of those things. It asks you to consider what becomes possible when fear is replaced by patience. What grows when you treat a living creature, any living creature, not as a thing to be managed or contained, but as a soul worthy of time and care and genuine love. What becomes possible, as it turns out, is tea in the morning, a bear on the sofa, watching the evening news, a garden being watered by enormous gentle paws, and a family improbable, impossible, undeniable sitting down together for another meal.